Good morning, everyone. This is the Division of Child Support Services Child Support Connection, our monthly event, that we hold normally on the first Monday of every month. However, we were unable to do the event yesterday due to the Facebook outage. So I'm happy to come to you today on Tuesday to go over and discuss some of the Division of Child Support's services that we offer to our constituents here in the state of Delaware, as well as talk a little bit about how we're handling things during the pandemic. And most importantly, I hope that we'll be able to receive and answer your questions live here today on the Facebook Live event. So thank you for joining me. And as we always do, we'll post this video to our Facebook, the Division of Child Support Services Facebook page, so that people can view it at their leisure. So I did have one question that came in yesterday that I'll go ahead and discuss a little bit. And it was a question from a custodial parent who was asking about if there's a way to go after child support arrears. It appears that the non-custodial parent actually lives in Texas, has an arrears balance over $10,000, doesn't see the child, and the non-custodial parent, his parents, are basically supporting him. So to answer that question, as long as there's a court order from state, state, it could be this gentleman, the non-custodial parent lives in Texas. So if there's a Texas court order or a Delaware court order, we can certainly work with the custodial parent to go after those child support arrearages. The child support arrears exist for the life of the case and longer. Until those arrears are satisfied, those child support arrears should be paid and paid in full. So even when current support ends, child support agencies can continue to collect on child support arrears that accrue. And sometimes, if in this particular situation, the non-custodial parent lives in a different state, and we would work with the state of Texas to try and collect on those child support arrearages. So it is something that we could certainly work with that custodial parent and try to have that non-custodial parent provide the child support that the courts have ordered. So I would encourage, if that custodial parent is not a client of ours here in the state of Delaware, I would encourage her to contact our customer service unit. And the phone number is 302-577-7171. And talk to a child support specialist about how we would go ahead and try to accrue those arrears, or try to collect on those accrued arrears. The other thing that we need to talk a little bit about is that if there's not a court order, if there's not a court order, and let's say, for instance, the parties have an agreement for each other to pay, outside of a court, then there's really, we could certainly work with that custodial parent. But if there's no current support court order, then there's nothing that the courts won't accept, that, hey, he promised he would pay X amount of dollars and he hasn't paid that. There has to be an agreement by the parties filed with the jurisdictional court system in order for us to go after those arrears. So I hope that answers your questions. But we work with all of the states around the country. When the non-custodial parent resides in a different jurisdiction, we can certainly work with them. So I've already given everyone our a customer service telephone number, but I'm going to give it to you again. Our customer service telephone number is 302 577 7171. And we are still operating, all three of our child support offices, we are still operating on an appointment only system. So if you feel like you need to come to the child support office, we're encouraging custodial parents to contact us by telephone at 302 577 7171. We're encouraging all of our clients, custodial parents, non-custodial parents, to call that number and talk to a child support specialist and see if, in fact, you actually need to come in, because we may be able to help you by telephone and actually triaging your particular child support issue, so that you don't have to come and visit us at the child support office, and save you a trip. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is, at the child support office, we have a customer website. And the customer website allows both custodial parents and non-custodial parents to have access to their child support case, and you can log in with a username and password that you create, and it will actually give you access to our child support system. Now, we recently changed to a different login process, and it's through iddelaware.gov. But if you go to our child support website, you can learn how to create a username and password and actually have access to the various pieces of your child support case. So, for instance, if you need an account statement, rather than calling us and having us send you an account statement, rather than you coming to the child support office and having us print one for you, you can actually log in to iddelaware.gov and then log into our customer website, and you can actually print that account statement right from home and have it. You can print it as many times as you want, and you can have a copy of it at your convenience. The next thing that you can also do is you can have access to your worker. So sometimes we hear like call wait times are long, and you can't get a hold of anybody at the child support office. You can by going into the customer website, you can actually send your worker an email and ask your question or get some information related to your child support case. So it's something that you can, it's something that makes your life a little bit more convenient, and it certainly helps us on the child support end when you can get your answers to your specific question in a timely fashion. So, I'm encouraging people to create a username and password to get into our customer website. And I'm also, I want to specifically reach out to people who had access to the customer website and then have dropped off, because with that change to iddelaware.gov, and that information can be found on our DCSS website, people who've dropped off, we sent emails, and the state of Delaware sent emails out to you that, hey, you had access to the customer website, and we've changed how the login process to the customer website, and you need to make some changes. And from what I'm hearing, quite a few, I think there's a couple thousand people who had access to our website, the customer website, to have access to their child support case, are no longer have access because they didn't take the steps that we outlined to change over the login process. So if you were once a user of the customer service website and you're no longer using it, head to the DCSS website and you'll be able to find instructions on how to recreate a username, recreate a password, and have access to the child support system. So the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about today is one of the things that the pandemic has brought on for us as a state agency is the way that we're holding family court mediation. So we, as the child support agency, would each day that mediation was taking place, we would send a child support specialist into the office, into family court mediation, to work with custodial parents on creating a child support order with the family court mediator. The pandemic had switched that to a virtual meeting. For us as a child support agency, we now work with custodial parents virtually, and the mediation session is held virtually. So we're no longer, going to family court in person in all three counties. That's kind of one of the benefits that has come out of the pandemic is, custodial parents and non-custodial parents who were concerned about having to go into family court or were concerned about having to lose a whole day of work for a family court mediation hearing, can now go and do this virtually. So, sometimes we've heard from non-custodial parents that there's a fear about having to report to the family court. And the fact that this is done virtually should eliminate that for non-custodial parents. So that's one of the benefits that we've experienced with the family court. And, it's something that I think is going to continue, virtual mediation sessions, for quite some time. So that should be very beneficial to our parents, especially if you have to work during the day and there's travel time and all that kind of stuff, and you'd have to go into family court and wait for the family court hearing to start. Now this is being done virtually, and that should eliminate some of those scheduling issues. Now, I can't say the same for family court commissioners' hearings. Those hearings are going to continue in person, I believe, in most cases. And the thing that everybody needs to know is when you get a notice from the family court related to a possible hearing, instructions will be provided by the family court on whether you need to show up in person, whether it's going to be held via Zoom, and you can work directly with the family court, on making sure you're available to attend those hearings. The other thing that I think is always important to talk about, especially during the pandemic, when the pandemic first started, there was obviously quite a few individuals who lost their employment or were furloughed and weren't collecting a paycheck. As non-custodial parents and custodial parents start to go back to work, it's important that you provide us with your new places of employment. Even if you're a custodial parent, it's always good for us to keep our records updated. One of the things that's important is, you don't, especially if you're a non-custodial parent with an active child support order, you don't want to see that there's a lapse in your child support payments. The courts will say in their orders, until this wage attachment takes effect with your employer, and a wage attachment is something the division sends out to our employer, the employer community, to make an automatic deduction to a paycheck. Until that wage withholding takes effect, you non-custodial parent are required to make those payments on your own. It doesn't happen as much as we would like to see. So it's always important to speed this process along, that if you're going to be employed and you have a new place of employment, that you let the child support agency know so that we can send that wage withholding to the new employer immediately. And, I get from the Department of Labor, I get notices for employers who are actively hiring, and we try to post those. We try to post those job openings on our Facebook page, and they're posted on the walls in all three counties. We have bulletin boards that talk about in places of employment. But I would encourage everyone, if you're looking for jobs, there's jobs out there in the state of Delaware. It seems like every corner there's an Amazon factory going up. So there's places for people to work, and we're encouraging non-custodial parents and custodial parents to keep your information updated with the child support office so that we can Make sure that if you have a wage withholding that needs to go out, that we can send that out immediately and make sure that the employer starts those payments directly. But until that time, it really is non-custodial parents. It's your responsibility to make some kind of a payment until that wage attachment, and you see those payments starting to come out of your paycheck. And to make sure that that the arrears don't accrue. You want to make sure that the arrears stay as low as possible. One of the things I try to tell non-custodial parents, and if you listen to me on, I always try to promote this too, because on the third Wednesday of every month, I appear on a radio show with Jake Smith, 92.7 down in Sussex County, WGMD. I spend an hour answering telephone calls from the public, and Jake and I have a conversation about child support here in the first state. So, I'm always trying and encouraging custodial and non-custodial parents alike to make sure that they're keeping their addresses information up to date and their employment information up to date with the child support office. And the family court, for that matter. We both have to know your current living arrangements and your current places of employment to make sure there's no break in the case information. Jake and I shared a story. I shared a story with him a couple months ago, where a custodial parent had almost a $10,000 payment here, waiting to go out to her, and it was actually payments we had sent but had come back to us because we did not have the custodial parent's most current address. And we have the U.S. Bank issued Relia card, and we allow custodial parents to sign up for direct deposit. But sometimes bank accounts, especially if you're a client that maybe isn't getting regular payments, bank accounts close and addresses change, and if we lose touch with you, there is that potential that payments are coming in and not going out to you. So it's always important to make sure that your addresses are up to date and current. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get child support out the door. And that custodial parent was very happy to have gotten that payment of almost $10,000. And you just never know. And we always say in the child support community that every case is different. What may be working on custodial parents case A over here, you may not be working on this case over here, and vice versa. So it's just so important that we have updated information in our child support system in order to make sure that when that payment does come in, when that tax refund comes in, we have a place to be able to apply those funds. And custodial parents say, hey, I got this U.S. Bank issued Relia card. My payments get sent to that, or the child support office has my direct deposit information, so payments are being sent there. But things change, people move. It's always important to keep information updated. So I'm always encouraging people, keep your information updated. Don't let that don't let that lapse, because you never know when there's a situation that we may need to get a hold of you. Especially the family court, who are issuing notices to appear for court hearings and that kind of thing. There's the one other thing I'll mention about the address information. There's a thing about due process, and so if you appear to family court and they enter on the court order that you live at such and such an address, all future notices are sent to that address as the participant's last known court address. So if you move and you don't keep the family court updated, or family court updated on your address, they're going to send notices to that address, and if you no longer live there, you're going to miss out on family court hearings or other types of notices that you might be sent from us or the family court. And if you don't show up to hearings, it can result in a family court capias. So it's just a long drawn out situation that you could avoid all of it if you just keep your address current with the child support office. So I was hoping to hopefully have a few questions, but we'll continue to talk about some of the things that are happening at the Child Support Office. So, we at Child Support are continuing to work closely with the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice has, here in the state of Delaware, they play a key role in how we establish and enforce child support orders in Delaware. So, they are the agency's attorneys, but they also will help us with the filing of court orders. So, if there's a family court petition that needs to be filed, for instance, like a contempt petition, they review that contempt petition. They review some case information that we provide them about payments and other types of information to determine if it is in the best interest of the child support agency to file that petition with family court. They're also available to provide us with legal guidance and help us deal with regulations from our Federal Office of Child Support. And they also help us with making sure that we are following the Delaware laws that are in place related to the child support system and the child support process. Each year as a child support agency, we do an evaluation as to whether there needs to be any statutory changes down at Legislative Hall. And, from time to time, we look at things that will make the child support program better. And I often reach out to custodial and non-custodial parents especially to talk about legislative ideas that they may have. So I'm going to throw that out here, that if you have a potential legislative idea that you think we should consider looking at, I'm open to doing that. And you can send a message through Facebook about a potential legislative change that you think would be valuable to the child support program, and we may consider looking into that. Some of the things that we've talked about doing in the past just didn't seem to pan out. But I'm always looking for new ideas, and if you have an idea to help us make the child support program stronger and better in the state of Delaware, and even fairer. I'm looking to suggestions from non-custodial parents on how we can help them deal with their child support situation. I'm definitely open to doing that. So if you have a possible legislative idea that you would like us to consider, whether it's enforcement related, whether it's how we work with non-custodial parents, how we deal with obtaining child support, I'm open to any of those ideas. But the Department of Justice, they play a key role in the child support program, doing what we need to do in order to make sure child support payments are coming in for the clients that we represent. I often tell our child support specialist and folks that work in our accounting unit and our state disbursement unit that both custodial parents and non-custodial parents are clients of the Division of Child Support Services. And we need to make sure we're treating both parents as clients, because even though we may not generate documents on behalf of the non-custodial parent, we certainly have an obligation to help them maneuver through this child support program, as well as to give them information not only about how to work with the family court on next step case processing that they may need done for a non-custodial parent, but to help them with obtaining services from other departments and in state government and other divisions here at other divisions at the Department of Health and Social Services. So we work closely with trying to make sure we're providing a quality service to both custodial and non-custodial parents. And I think as a child support agency, we're obligated to do that. And, sometimes, services may lack in a certain area. And as the division director, and this is one of the things that I say all the time on 92.7 when I'm with Jake Smith, that third Wednesday of every month, is that, I'm the division director. So, if sometimes if my employees don't provide the best service that they possibly can, or if there's a perception that that is occurring, my staff and I, we want to hear that so that we can work on developing our child support specialists to be the best in the department and be the best employees in the state. So, we're always looking to get feedback, and we actually just sent out, I think it was a couple thousand questionnaires as part of a customer satisfaction survey. And and if you would like to get a client satisfaction survey, we'd be more than happy to send you one. And we would just ask you to DM us your email address or your mailing address, and we could certainly mail you one out. But being a state employee at the Division of Child Support Services is not always an easy situation. It's sometimes can get volatile, and we try to do our best to diffuse any situations that that may become volatile, and try to work with the parties in the best interest of the children here in the state of Delaware. So, like I was mentioning, the Department of Justice works closely with us, and I'm open to legislative ideas. And if feel free to DM us, and we will send you a response that we've received your idea, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll consult with the Department of Justice if we think it's an option to move forward. So, it's things are often changing, and we want to make sure that we're changing for the best. And sometimes it requires a legislative change in order to do that. So, the other thing that I think is important to talk about is, some of the things that we're doing in the community. Prior to the pandemic, we have a speakers bureau. And we have a number of employees who will go out to community events and talk about the child support program. The pandemic has really kind of yielded that, or kind of turned that back a little bit. And we have not been out in public as much as we normally would like to do. But hopefully, hopefully with the beginning of the year, and then going into the spring, there'll be more community events that we can send our speakers bureau to participate in. But that's one of the things we do that I certainly like to take advantage of, because the more people we can reach and talk about child support system in the first state, the child support, the more people we can talk to, the better, so people understand the process. And so that's just one of the things that we like to do for outreach. And if you're a community organizer, an event organizer that's looking at this video after it's posted on Facebook, we certainly, you can send, there's information on our website about how to reach out to our community relations officer, and he'll work with you to make sure that we send, if you're interested in having child support come out and talk to a certain set of community people, we'd like to do that. One of the other things I do, and I like to do this personally, and the pandemic has also hit this a little bit, but once the pandemic's over, we're going to start this back up again, is I often, and I think it's actually once a quarter, I'll go to all 4 of the level 4 correctional centers here in the state of Delaware, and actually put on a presentation for the incarcerated. So I'm going to Sussex Community Corrections. It used to be Morris Community Corrections, but they've moved, so I go to the location in Kent County. Also to the Plumber Center up in Newcastle County, and the Hazel Plant Treatment Center in Newcastle County. So I normally go to all 4 of those locations, and will put on a child support presentation. And one of the best things I think is important for me to do is I give the incarcerated, or the residents of these facilities, the opportunity to ask questions in general about child support. But then I love the fact that we give them a blank form to fill out, and they can ask me, ask questions about their specific child support case. And so if you know somebody that's incarcerated in level 4, I have contacts in each of those facilities. And if they have a question about their child support situation, please have them talk to their correctional counselor, and they know how to get a hold of me at the Division of Child Support Services, and I'd be more than happy to look at their child support case and have a response sent to them about the current status of their child support situation. So that's just that. It's disappointing that the pandemic has caused that to be really curbed, because that was such a great event each quarter. That I would go to those facilities, and in the beginning, I always like to tell the story. The residents, in some of the facilities, they actually maybe have worked the night before, and they actually wake them up and have them come to my presentation. And sometimes they come in kind of upset that they have to be there, but I can't tell you the number of times after I've gotten done doing my presentation that they've come up to me and thanked me, and they're so appreciative they got to hear the message about child support and actually ask questions and give me questions about their specific child support case. So if you know somebody that's incarcerated and and you can reach out to them if they have a child support case and they want some information, I'm strongly encouraging them to reach out to their correctional counselor, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that they may have about their child support case. It's really a great thing. I personally can't wait for this pandemic to be over so that I can go and talk to them again about their child support case. And that's one of the things I love to do. I love to come and talk to people about child support. And once this pandemic's over, we're going to be out and about in public, and maybe holding some town hall meetings to talk about child support in each of the counties, and really get people to come out, ask questions. And that's why I'm trying to promote this on our Facebook Live event, because I never know who's actually watching. So if you are part of a planning committee and you want to have a community event and you want us to come out, we certainly would like to do that and share information about the child support program in the state. So I know this, because we switched to Tuesday and it's not the first Monday. We don't have any questions yet, so I'm just going to continue to talk a little bit about some of the things we do. One of the things I'm most happy about is, over the last couple years as a child support agency, we've been able to maintain a certain level of collections as a state. Last year we collected around $91 million in child support, maybe just a little over $91 million. And the year before, in 2020, we collected, in state fiscal year 2020, we collected just about $98 million in child support. And that was during the pandemic. So we're very, really happy about that. That's one of the things that I'm really excited about, is that we were able to continue to do that. So that's one of the things that I'm most proud about, is that we've been able to maintain those collection levels over the years. So it's one of the things that we try to continue to maintain, and many different people, from the governor's office to our cabinet secretary to the legislature, they're interested in what we collect each year, and we try to provide them with that information each year to let them know that, hey, the program is doing what we're supposed to do. For every dollar that we spend as a child support agency, we collect about $3. So that's, some payments are retained by the state, and some are sent to, obviously most of them are collected custodial parents. Okay, so I do see that we have some questions, and I'm going to go ahead and answer them. And I apologize for not getting to these questions sooner. The Facebook layout is a little bit different today, so it wasn't in the spot that I was expecting to see, and I just heard from my my community relations person that there are some questions. So the first question is, I currently receive child support through the Philadelphia Family Court. My daughter permanently moved to Delaware 4 years ago. My father still lives in Philadelphia. Can I receive through Delaware? Absolutely. So, one of the things that, absolutely. So, one of the things I mentioned already is that the Division of Child Support Services works with all of the states around the country. So, there would be some questions and an interview that would have to take place by us here at Child Support. And we would, there's an application process that would need to be filled out. And then once we've gone through some early, investigative tools that we would do to try to confirm some information, we would work with the state of Pennsylvania, the city of Philadelphia, to work on enforcing that court order, if there's a court order already in place, and you said there is. So yes, we would absolutely work with the city of Philadelphia to, if you're not getting child support, to start getting child support. The next question is, my son's father hasn't paid child support in 4 years, owes about $13,000. He lives in New Jersey, and I don't feel like the caseworker has followed up. And she continues to make phone calls. So this is the thing. So she goes on to say that he lives in the state of New Jersey, has a driver's license, and shouldn't he be in jail? Seems very hard to get enforcement. Let's see here. Just reading through this a little bit. Let's see. It only looks like there's 4 people. Okay, so yes, if he lives in the state of New Jersey, first things first, similar to the Philadelphia question, we would work with the state of New Jersey to try and collect child support. Now, because he lives in New Jersey, if we're working with the state of New Jersey and he's over the threshold for the license suspension process to start, we would ask New Jersey why that enforcement tool hasn't started, because every state in the country has a license suspension program, and they should have suspended the license. We will we should be following up with the state of New Jersey to find out why what enforcement tools are being used, what enforcement tools aren't being used. Now, one thing that I like to caution people is, when working with different states, sometimes states do things a little bit differently. Some states are more administrative, can handle things administratively. Other states handle things through a judicial process, like the state of Delaware. So, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and certain processes are different in different jurisdictions. Some states allow child support agencies to call each other and talk to a worker and find out about what's going on with the enforcement tool. Some states want paper. They want us to send a request for an update on the status of a case. But the reason why I'm saying all of this is, all of the child support systems are different. Different states and different county agencies run their programs a little bit different. And some states require a few more hoops to be jumped through in order to get the case processed. I'm certainly not making excuses for the state of New Jersey or Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. We want to work with those agencies, and what I'd like to do is, if you would like to just send us your case number, and myself and my community relations officer, we will look at the case and get with the supervisor and the worker to reach out with you and the state of New Jersey to find out what the status is. And we can certainly do that to make sure that make sure that they know that we're asking for enforcement of the child support case, and that we're expecting next steps next step case processing to actually take place. And again, I apologize for not seeing the questions in the comment section. The layout today on my Facebook, the Facebook dashboard is totally different, and I was expecting to see questions in a different area. So I apologize for not getting to these questions sooner, and I certainly appreciate them coming into this Facebook Live event. I certainly, we talk a little bit here about, I'll just kind of bounce off a couple of the items that are in this chat from the one custodial parent, because I think it's important to talk about. When we talk about incarceration, certainly there are certain cases that warrant incarceration of a non-custodial parent for non-payment of their child support obligation. And that certainly is those individuals who, flaunt the fact that I'm not going to comply with this child support obligation. And no matter how many times you tell me, family court commissioner, or, in other states, family court judges, I'm still not going to pay. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're not going to tell me how to live my life. There are certain situations where the non-custodial parent deserves to be incarcerated. My philosophy and my my way of trying to gain support and work from the non-custodial parent to gain compliance is to work with them. So, sometimes when we talk about suspending licenses or incarceration, I try to talk to my employees about being flexible and working with non-custodial parents to give them a chance to get back on track with regular paying their child support and meeting their obligations. So it's important that that we when we talk about incarcerating non-custodial parents in Delaware, I like to say, hey, give us one last chance to work with that non-custodial parent about finding employment through our Delaware Fatherhood Program, or looking at how we can get maybe a small payment in on a regular basis, and try to work with them to start getting them to get in a habit to make those payments on a regular basis. So it is important, obviously, that they're meeting their obligations. But by incarcerating somebody, it's really not going to get the end result that everybody's looking for, and that's regular payments in the door for child support. So it's always important to try, in my opinion, to work with non-custodial parents. I'm not saying that suspending a license isn't an effective tool, but I like to consider suspending a driver's license as an opportunity to talk to custodial parents, get them in our child support office, and get them into our child support office, talk to them about their situation, give them information about how to move forward and get them on the right track. So I just got to follow up about the situation in the family court, or the Philadelphia court system. So if you live in Delaware, you should contact our customer service unit at 302-577-7171 and ask to let the child support specialist know that you're going to talk to a child support specialist, and let them know, hey, you're in Delaware, he's in Philadelphia, and that there may not be a case between our two states, and that there needs to be one, and the worker will be able to help you. So they should be able to help you, get that ball rolling for us to start working with the state of Pennsylvania on your child support case. But like I was saying, we look to opportunities to work with non-custodial parents. Some, custodial parents find that a little troubling, because they want us to lay down the hammer and lay down the law. And I understand their frustration, but I just think sometimes it's easier to try to work with non-custodial parents. Sometimes, I'm going to admit it, sometimes I get burned, or the child support specialist gets burned because we tried to help the non-custodial parent, and he or she tries to work with us, and then they go back into their old ways, and the child support payments stop. But we try to work with custodial and non-custodial parents to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to get that child support in the door. Like I was mentioning before we hit these questions, we collected $91 million last year. It's down a little bit. My goal as director is to always shoot high. I'd love to be able to collect $100 million in child support, and that's one of my goals as a child support agency. But as long as we continue to do what we need to do, I think we're going to be a successful agency, and we want to work with custodial parents and non-custodial parents to do that. The other thing that I wanted to mention a little bit about was, if I can only remember what it was, it just slipped my mind. But we certainly want to work closely with our families to try and get that child support in the door. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about medical coverage. One of the things that is often pushed aside or pushed down a little bit because everybody's worried about getting the child support at the door is to making sure that children have medical insurance coverage. Now, whether it's through our Division of Social Services and the Medicaid unit, or whether it's through a private insurance company, through a non-custodial parent, or the custodial parent's employer, one of the things we're obligated to do is to make sure medical insurance coverage is available to children in Delaware when it's available at a reasonable cost. So, we work closely with the Medicaid unit here in the state of Delaware, and the family court will go ahead and create those orders for medical insurance coverage, or they will include it in a financial order to make sure that non-custodial parents and custodial, the courts can order that a custodial parent who is working provide that medical insurance coverage in order to make sure that the child's got the medical insurance. So if you're a custodial parent, I think it's sometimes it's a little bit of a surprise when the courts say, hey, mom or dad, you've got a job and you've got insurance coverage, you need to enroll the child. But we certainly make sure that if the courts order it, we're checking with employers and we send them notices for medical insurance that tells the employer that, hey, if you have insurance, your employee is responsible for enrolling the child in the medical insurance program at your company, and we make sure that they do that. Sometimes the employers are sending us insurance cards that we have to give to the custodial parent, and we do that. So, that's the one thing I just didn't want people to forget about is that we do have a medical insurance, making sure people got medical insurance coverage. And we do try to do that as much as we possibly can. So just trying to see if there's any other questions, and I don't see any. I'm appreciative of those who did ask questions, and I'm glad I did finally answer them. And like I said again, I apologize. I see that there was a little concern about why I wasn't answering the questions, and like I said, I just didn't know they were there. But so let's talk a little bit about our child support offices. Our offices, we have, unlike some of our other sister divisions in the department, we only have 3 offices statewide, and we like it that way. The one in Newcastle is located on Route 273, and we're about a mile, maybe it's a little less, half a mile away from Route 13 at Churchman's Corporate Center. And we're open from the hours in all 3 offices from 8 a.m. To 4 p.m. That's for calls to our customer service unit. Our office is closed at 4:30. Our office location in Kent County is located at 905 South Governors Avenue, and that's about maybe half a mile south of Kent General Hospital. And our office location in Sussex County is at the Professional Office Park, Georgetown Professional Office Park, right across from the Walmart on Route 113. I believe the Department of Labor is also located in that facility, but it's right on Route 113. I always tell people right across from the Walmart. So, like I said, right now, we continue to examine how we're dealing with the pandemic. but we're still requiring that if you want to come to the child support office, that you have to, we're encouraging people to call our customer service unit and let us triage your particular situation. And we will then see if you need to come in. If you do, we'll set up an appointment for you to come in. If you don't need to come in, we will, get you what information you may need, or you may, or we'll send you the paperwork, or get you in the right direction. Um, so we have three offices, and we want to be able to help you, but until we're feeling like opening the offices a little bit in a better place, we're just still requesting that you call customer service, and we will um, make an appointment for you to come in. So, but the family court, this, one of the things we wanted to talk about too is, the family court is open for business. In each of the county family courts, they have resource centers. So resource centers are available for non-custodial parents and custodial parents who feel they want to file a document with the family court on their own. The courts can you can go into the family court and actually speak to somebody in the resource center, and they'll give you the paperwork to be filed with the family court and talk about all of that and how that process goes. The family court is open, and like I said, there are mediation sessions and hearings happening. Commissioners' hearings are happening, and one of the things that often comes up when we talk about Facebook Live is contempt petitions. In the beginning of the pandemic, when people were losing their places, not custodial parents were losing their employment opportunities, we did ease up on filing contempt petitions, but that has changed. And we are filing contempt petitions now with the family court for people who are not making or not meeting their child support obligations. So if you feel that your case warrants a contempt filing with the family court, we're asking that you contact us. Again, the customer service unit will help you. They'll look at your case, determine what the best next steps are, and determine whether it warrants a contempt petition being filed by the family court. And we will help you get that done if it's something that needs to happen. So, I think we've talked a lot about things that we're doing at child support. Again, I'm always looking for ideas to improve the program. I like people to know that our employees, they work very hard under difficult situations sometimes, and they have the best interest of all Delawareans in mind when they are working their child support cases. The cases where they involve other states, they're the most difficult and do take a little bit of time, because we are asking another state to take the enforcement action. And like I said earlier, some states operate a little bit differently, and things take a little bit longer, especially when you're dealing with some of the larger states where there's more of a caseload involved. It does take a little bit longer to get certain types of case processing tools accomplished. So we always are asking for people to be patient, and we work closely with other states to try and get the job done. So I'm going to go ahead and end this edition of the Facebook Live for October, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again in November. And again, I'm going to put in a plug for my third Wednesday of the month. I'm down at 92.7 with Jake Smith from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's the third Wednesday of the month. And I love to get telephone calls with questions about child support. So if you're watching this video after the fact, I'm encouraging you to call in to Jake's show, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have live on the radio. So thank you very much. I hope everyone stays safe, continues to follow the protocols that are in place for the state of Delaware for COVID-19, And if you're not vaccinated, I would encourage you to do so. So thank you very much and have a great day and a wonderful rest of your month. And I'll see you in November. Thank you.